This is one of those situations in which there's not one truth. There are several truths that exist simultaneously. It is true that people that are at the bottom of the economic ladder are struggling, working 1, 2, 3 jobs. It's not okay. It's not okay that our economy has become so stratified that we have high wage earners and low wage earners. We are losing our middle class. And therefore, it becomes more important that we do right by people who are at the bottom. None of us up here contest that. It is also true that this will have a profound impact on small businesses. We have heard from people that all of us like and respect, the owner of Denizens in Silver Spring, who has said to us, she will lose her business and she will lose her home because she's invested everything she has in that business. That is a moral issue, too. There is not a single moral issue. Life is not that simple, and this issue is not that simple. How we reconcile these truths is really important. My heart says one thing, my mind says, you need to look. I look at the other communities who have done this, Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York City, District of Columbia. I ask myself, are we as strong economically as they are? And I answer, I don't think we are. It is true we have great wealth in this county, but it is not because of our business community. We have wealth, absolutely. That is not the measure, and we have a high cost of living. That is also true. And it does speak to things we need to do, including addressing this issue. But do not confuse those two things with the capacity of our small business community to absorb this without negative impacts. So one of the questions I ask myself is, what is the cost of this? I get the benefits. I don't need to be told how important it is for people to have more dollars in their pocket. I do need to understand fully the consequences of this and whether there are not alternative ways of achieving these objectives, whether or not there are alternative timeframes that are appropriate. We know that just from our nonprofit community alone, that the disability community has said to us, this will cost the county an additional $20 million if you are going to hold to your promise of not just paying us the minimum wage, but 125% of the minimum wage, for the very reasons that Councilmember Eldridge gave voice to. That's a significant deal. If that's just one group that we would have a moral obligation to take care of, if we want to make sure that the people that are taking care of those most vulnerable are paid a little more than the minimum wage. So when I look at this, one of the questions I ask myself is, as Councilmember Katz observed, do we have more time to do more analysis? And if not, okay, maybe we have to roll the dice now. I do like to look before I leap. I like to take full advantage of as much time as I have in order to get as much information as I can to inform me on one of the most important decisions I will make. No one up here contests the fact that we do not need to make this decision in this moment. We have until the fall, even winter, to make this decision because our minimum wage law stays into effect until July of 18. So the question is, why would we not avail ourselves of whatever information is out there? And I will concede that you can, in fact, get competing points of view based on competing ideologies. I will share with my colleagues, as I had previously, that I went to one of the leading left of centers the most progressive economist who has been the strongest advocate for minimum wage. And I emailed him. And I said, help me understand this. And he said, hopefully the country as a whole will be moving to the $15 minimum soon. I would like to see it accompanied by an increase in the EITC, the Earned Income Tax Credit, which was one of the tools that we have at our disposal as well. Obviously, that's not happening. This was before the election. But here's what he also then said. The question you raise, though, is much harder. Should a particular county move ahead when its neighbors aren't? We are not a state. We are not insulated like Los Angeles, New York City, and San Francisco, where the tourist industry in the District of Columbia is strong and powerful and feeds their economy. That is not who we are in Montgomery County. And therefore, the impact of our going forward in isolation, when you have Frederick County, when you have Howard County, when you have Prince George's County, when you have Fairfax County at half of what we are talking about. And then you are talking about the businesses that are most vulnerable, like restaurants. You can go anywhere to eat. And the restaurant industry is approximately 50% of the industries most affected by this, according to our staff's packet. In Bethesda, we have the Tasty Diner. They're already laying people off. What's happened already? Our county has just increased the minimum wage, is continuing to increase the minimum wage, and has done what we should do, although some of us had a slightly different point of view, on paid sick leave. That combination is just now being felt. So the notion that what has happened before should be the guide for what happens going forward actually is not true. We have a cumulative impact issue. And there does come a point when people say, I can't do this. I will lose my business. I will lose my home. I will start laying people off. I will employ technology as opposed to people. These are real, ladies and gentlemen. So I just want you to know that people of goodwill, of good heart, are trying their best to get their minds around this and do this in a way that is most respectful of the consequences. How we do our work is so terribly important. So if it were me, I would go forward with the OLO analysis or any other work we can get that would help us so that when we do need to make this decision, and we would make this decision, no one's saying we're not going to handle this issue. No one's saying, oh, we're just going to punt on it. No, we're not punting. At least I wouldn't propose punting. I would say, let's get every bit of data we can to help us make the most informed decision we can, because it is that important. And so I would be among those that suggest that we put the pause button on for this moment in time, have our team get all the data they can to help us understand this, report back to us in September, move on this bill in October, November, make our decision, but make it based on every bit of information we can have. That, to me, is respectful to all the people who have a stake in the outcome with respect to this.